Mm.
So it has a lot of leverage and liens against everything. So the mine gold, the stuff you're talking about, 700 tons, this and that are in bunkers, they're not actually in bunkers. They're several levels down from the entryway point.
Okay,
So,
well, I've been following this bunker story for a long time, and I've talked to, for example, Japanese retired bank chairman who took military maps made by the Japanese of these bunkers.
mhm.
Um, and I've tried very hard to get anybody to provide me proof that these bunkers really exist. For example, holding a recent newspaper in front of a stash of gold. And
Mhm.
as far as I can tell, it's a giant fiction to say, oh, there's all this gold in these caves, and that's why we can print dollars. Um, so, I haven't seen the proof that these things exist. I'm sorry to
Well,
say.
I
Very
can
hard.
explain that to you. I have some books and stuff like that, and I can explain to you how they did it. But you've heard about like the red book, you've heard of the blue book, the black book. Well, the black book was the Order of the Black Sun stash when they had it. They don't have it anymore, but when they had it, that was their stash. So you see in some of these books, it'll say like CN 85124, right? Just random number. And that would be in ground assets in China.
Mm,
So, and then you would have SA 12345, that's in ground assets of Saudi Arabia. There was also Russian assets. I mean, everything. See, what the Khazarian mafia used to do, the way the system worked for the dark side, is you had to put something in order to get something out. So, bit by bit, piece by piece, during their reign, they had deposited, leveraged everything on the planet, including all humans, birth
mm,
certificate phones. You heard about those,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So by 2007, I was not in this position at that time. My predecessor was. He had acquired everything on Earth, past, present, and future, including oil reserves. Everything had been leveraged. The Khazarian mafia was so greedy, they gave everything into the backs to the other side system, right?
Mm.
And that in order to get pretty papers out. So
Okay,
by
well,
2000, hmm,
mm. All right, go on. Sorry.
at, by March 2007, he cut them off completely because there was nothing left to leverage. In his words, he would have said, "Greedy little piglets," and I agree with him. Um, Then it didn't take very long, did it, for your Lehman crisis to show up because the money making machine was gone. And they've been trying to get it back ever since. That's why you have this Chinese elders are going to do this, and dragon families are going to do that. And oh, the Vatican's going to do this. And, everybody's going to pay out on some RV someday, every day, ending in Y.
All right, well, here's I actually talked to Dragon Family, Asian secret societies,
Mm-hmm.
the British royals, Rothschilds. I actually talked to them, and they've come up with a basic agreement that from now on, our purpose as a species is to increase the amount and variety of life. So more plants, more animals, more babies, uh, and just let life flourish. And one of the mechanisms that uh, we have proposed for this is to set up a meritocratic future planning agency to try to turn this planet
I
into a
know.
paradise. So, would you be willing to help us with this project?
The Metacratic Society? Absolutely.
Meritocratic, yeah, future
100,
planning.
150%. What we have done thus far on my end of it, we do have the Hall of Records, which means that we can register anyone at the same, how do you say it, at the same level as, like, for example, the United Nations, right?
Hmm.
The United Nations doesn't have any charter, doesn't have any sovereignty, hasn't for a couple of years now. They know it, they've been informed, but yet they keep doing what they're doing. They don't have the authorization to do that. They don't have the authorization to have a standing army, even. And
Hmm.
they're also broke.
Hmm.
So that's because no buttons are being pushed on this end of it. I'm not doing it.
All
And
right.
then So as far as what we are doing to go forward is thus far, we tried to get what we call assemblies. You can call them whatever you want, councils from every area of the world, because no one knows your needs and your area better than the people who actually live there. They're living in it, right? Now, we may need guidance with, like, for example, a science research and development division that can give us the best technologies, or at least give us options that we may not be aware of to fix problems in our areas, right? So we formed what was called and we're going to rename it now because we had some issues, but the Global Peace and Restoration Consortium of Member States. It's a little bit lengthy, so we're going to shorten that. But what it's supposed to be is a gathering place of all of these people. So exactly like you said, metacratic, right? I don't
Mm.
care where you're from or what you want to do. If you want to be a part of this change, you're more than welcome. It's not about bloodlines. It's about people. The one thing we require is that everyone that participates, whether it's on a scientific level or you're just merely identifying your needs in your area, is that you do not violate human rights,
Okay.
yours or your fellow country people, right?
No, speaking about violating human rights, as you know, the United States has been at war for most of its existence.
Hmm.
81% of the wars since the end of World War II were started by the U.S. So, you
Hmm.
know, we want to bankrupt the U.S. corporation and set up a new political body, possibly headquartered in Idaho, to replace the U.S. corporation with a healthier, more competent new government that would include Canada and possibly ultimately Latin America. What do you think about this? Can you finance such a project?
Yeah, we can. And what we've been doing on our end of it is we've asked each state in the United States to form their own council. And then they collectively make the national council. So it's all of the people all of the time, right? There's no third party nanny,
Hmm.
governance, corporate or otherwise. I think if we all can learn and grow and we're not living in lack and fear, that we can at least get along enough to decide if we need a road or a bridge. Canada is doing the same. We have assemblies in just about every single country right now, or councils that are bringing their needs forward all over the African continent, all over Latin America. We have them everywhere. So we're doing the exact same thing.
Hmm.
That's, that's why your readers probably said, hey, you need to talk to this lady, because we are already doing it. It was just a matter of getting the cabal, so to speak, to basically go bankrupt
All
and
right.
get.
Well, okay. So I have support from the Asians and from the British Royals, etc., for this future planning agency. How can we actually get it started? What's the concrete step forward?
Okay. On my end of it, you have to file your organization. We file it within the Hall of Records, which is the records for all governments on the planet. And then you are returned back as an official entity.
Hmm.
Okay. Then you go from there, and then you now need to submit your orders. We need 100 schools in Canada, say, right? So you then are writing up what you call a bill. That's why it's called a bill. And then that passes in the Hall of Records, but you have to have all your numbers right, right? So you got to have make sure that, you know, no one needs a $10 billion per student education, right? That doesn't make sense. But we do need to pay our teachers more, right? And we need, in some areas of the world, you're going to need security for kids to go to school, even, right? You're going to need school buses. They don't have those in a lot of places of the world. So we really have a lot of work to do in that aspect, but just taking one project. So once you submit that into the Hall of Records, then it ties into what's called the key and the key monetary key. I can't even talk right now. Key integrated monetary system. There you go.
Hmm.
So that is now the monitor for currencies and making sure we do not have what you call, a devaluation or a parity situation. And
All
because
right.
money
So,
always, yeah,
how do you go to the Hall of Records? How do you do that? Where do you go?
that's in my system. It's in the alpha system.
It's in the
I
alpha
have
system.
about 30 some odd screens. We don't use keyboards. Everything is run um, on
And,
these.
and this system, does it oversee China and Asia?
Yep. Uh, well, China would be under the impression, as an example, so would Japan, that the RMB people, the average everyday person, thinks that China issues RMB. That has
Mm,
never been the case. The allocation numbers always came through the Federal Reserve, right?
mm,
That was the pass through for the Khazarian mafia, as you call it. So the Federal Reserve actually controlled even the ruble, the yen. I mean, if there's a currency out there, you would have to get your allocation numbers from the Federal Reserve. Well, as of right this minute, you do not have to do that anymore. All the allocations for new currency come from the Key Integrated Monetary System, or KIMS for short.
mm.
So, yep.
All right. Well, I mean, it sounds like after this show ends, I'll try to figure out a way to we can, actually start, fixing up this planet in real time. But right now, as far as I can tell, we have some house cleaning to do first. Is that right? I mean, who do we need to remove from systems of power? So, for example, why is someone like Victoria Newland still out there, and what can we do to remove these people permanently from positions of power?
Well, the problem that I've run into, right? So we have ground command. We do have help. We
Mm,
have life force enforcement. And I also have a clearance under the Global Intelligence Agency, which used to belong to the Order of the Black Sun, but I have it now. I've had it for quite a long time now. So the GIA, we've been doing a lot of work behind the scenes to make sure the people that are not allowing the restoration of planet Earth and humanity to occur disappear. The
mm,
problem is you have the mask wearing thing in the White House, whatever that is. He's
mm,
taking orders from the secret space force, which is dwindling person by person by person, because as they make the wrong decision against the restoration of the planet and humanity as a whole, they somehow disappear.
mm.
So they're given a choice and then they're removed. So now what you have and what you're looking at is a bunch of mask wearing people, right? Or, you know, I mean, the real Biden's dead. He
Yeah,
died. Yeah. And so did Trump. Trump's dead months ago. Yep.
really.
That is a doppelganger you're seeing running around because the family is making too much money on rallies.
Mm,
That's what the family has said directly. So, um, you have a lot of leaders out there that are not the same persons. You know, people all of a sudden lose 30 pounds in a day, right? They show up the next day and they're, yeah, Putin's not Putin anymore. I mean, a lot of these people
yeah,
aren't who they are. But how do we stop them from talking to people, right? Whatever
yeah,
that.
and more specifically, they represent an institution. So the Putin avatar represents the Russian people. So I understand we're
Hmm.
at Putin number six right now. Um,
Yeah.
but so where's the root of all this? Like, so how do we find the people who are getting people to put masks on and pretending to be Biden, etc.?
Well, those are all operations that are run globally and jointly. And most of them are coming out of, okay, so above these people that you're referring to, right, that we see cabal in the public, you had another group called the Covens, right, which is your Khazarian mafia's negative version of the Chabad, let's call
Right.
them, right?
Hmm.
And so then you had Coven Masters, and then above the Coven Masters, you had what we call the parents. These are non-genetically modified humans. That's who you had there. And then you start going into the stuff that people can't see, right? We don't talk about that. All right. So on the parent level, the Order of the Black Sun parent, called the Dark Prince, he just had a code name, passed away a few years back, but he wrote something called the program many, many, many years ago. And so the program was then given to all the agencies and all of the SSP, and they all started running the program. That's why we landed with COVID and we had this and we had that, right? This was all laid out in the program. Now, there's a number of interviews out there with people that have participated in the SSP, right? Who will tell you they all knew the timeline ended in 2012. It was supposed to be over for them at that time. And if it's the Order of the Black Sun, it was supposed to be 2018. They did get a 3-year extension from their gamma ray folks, right? And then that officially ended. So 2018, what 2021? Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So, yep. So slowly but surely, all these treaties and covenants and agreements and help from the outside, let's call them negative forces, that they would have to conjure a demon or conjure stuff. They can't do that anymore. So now they're left to think for themselves, which is quite evident when you see in plain view the failure to keep a narrative up for anything.
Mm,
They're constantly, if you're over in America, you can't even get access to RT anymore, right? English Russian news. I mean, the censorship, they're trying so hard to kick everything off YouTube, everything off of their, Twitter, everything, everybody's getting booted, right? But,
mm,
they're running social media influencers, hot girls get vaxxed. I mean, it's ridiculous.
right.
Um, so the narrative is failing miserably. They've lost the COVID. Just like, for example, the Omicron variant cured Delta. Anybody here? Nobody's got Delta anymore. It just cured it like that overnight, right? And then and then now Omicron was cured by Russia, not literally, but in Ukraine.
And
Overshadowed completely. We're not hearing about it anymore. Everything's opening back up. They've decided that was a failed operation, but it was on the list of the
so
program.
what's next? I've heard they're going to try to a starvation crisis,
Oh
uh,
yeah.
a fake UFO invasion. What have they got on their program?
The CIA has put the fake alien invasion off until 2024. So I hear the end of 2024, they'll be ready for the fake alien invasion. But yes, so the lifeblood of the world is oil and gas right now. It
Mm,
shouldn't be, but it currently is.
mm,
That being said, they are hyperinflating the price of fuel for no reason whatsoever. We don't have a fuel shortage anywhere.
mm.
Okay,
Well, they're just
we
trying
have
to.
a prevention shortage. So in other words, they prevent you from getting the fuel if you're not one of them. But we don't have a shortage. So
Mm,
they do these types of things so that they can then increase the price of food. Because why? Because our entire food supply chain is wrong. Why are you importing food in an extremely fertile country? Right? Right where you are. There's no point to that. Then they radiate it when it comes into America. So now we're eating radiated food with no nutrients whatsoever, and all we're doing is filling a hole. We're not actually feeding our body anymore. So, yes, if the price of fuel goes up, the price of everything you eat, everything you buy, all consumer products are going to increase dramatically.
okay, but at a certain point, though, right? The system's going to break. Isn't that what's going to happen? I mean, people are going to just start trading food for other things. I mean, I just can't see how they can sustain this. I mean, how much longer can they keep this horror show going before it all
See,
implodes?
see, that's because you have common sense, Ben. If you didn't have common sense, you would be them and you would be going, we can do it. We can do it. No matter how many times they fail, they still try to do these things. Now, this is also going to fail.
Yeah,
Okay.
because I run into people who say they've got like $1 trillion for me, but could you please send $1,000 so I can pay my grocery bill? It's like,
Hmm.
there's some kind of disconnect. All right, so I think we should probably conclude if things go
Sure.
on long. But all right, so how can we get from here to there? How are we going to put an end to this and start the planet on a nicer path that we all want? Where we're trying to turn this place into the paradise it's meant to be. How do we get from there here to there?
Well, to finish, yeah,
Ultimately start? Yeah.
to finish the cleanup, um, I mean, first of all of humanity needs to participate because I believe that God gives everyone gifts. Every human is unique, different, and brings something to the table. So the more people that we can bring together that have a like mind, like yourself and myself, then we'll get there. As far as their operations are concerned, just have to keep in your mind that in order to control planet Earth, right, which we want, which is who we want, what we want humanity to do, right? Sorry, I've been up since three
Mm,
o'clock this morning. It's late for me. So we have to look at military, intelligence, financial, media, right? And the justice system. So if we can get all those things on our side, on the side of humanity, they don't matter anymore. So far, we've pretty much got them backed into a corner financially. They are not going to be able to operate. It's very inexpensive to start a war, but it costs a lot of money to finish one. The Iraq situation was around $30 million a day. All right, so media. We started a news channel. The news channel, we structured it so that it's supposed to be every person can report from their respective area. And eventually that will grow if people are doing reports and they're like, oh, we're on TV.
mm,
So it's a metacratic news agency is what it is. So when you say, hey, what's going on in Ukraine, we ask people to report from on the ground. Is this really happening? Right? And
mm.
they give us little videos. They just do them on their phone. Doesn't have to
Okay,
be
well, what
anything
about
special.
sending special forces into New York and Palo Alto, California to take over all the big media companies and all the big internet companies and
I
force them
don't,
to tell the truth?
do we want their media? We
Well,
need their media. If we all could talk to each other, all 8 billion of us could talk to each other every single day and say, "Hey, I'm standing here. There's no hurricane," right? Or
right.
whatever it is. Do they matter anymore? Is anybody going to watch CNN? They're going to watch Cousin Bob because he's on there, right?
Hmm.
You see what I'm saying? That's the idea behind how you take over the media without trying to take on a multinational corporation that's they're all CIA, right? You know that. I
Hmm.
mean, or NSA or whatever. If you're in Russia, they're all SVR, I mean, that's just everybody knows what a journalist is. Let's not lie, right? So they're regurgitators. They're not even trained to, how do you say, uh, find the truth. They're trained to tell people what their script says. See?
Right. I mean, there are actually there used to be real journalists who actually go to the real world and check facts from
Yep.
reality. That's what I try to do. Um, but yeah, right now the corporate media has degenerated into the most incredible hysterical propaganda. It's kind of mind blowing. But I still think we need to move in and actually unplug them. It'll speed things up. But so getting back, so what about the military? We got them in the corner financially, and I can see they're starting to lose the information war, but they're out there. I
Mhm.
mean, a lot of people are still saying, "Hey, let's go kill Putin," um, and they're believing these lies. But what about the military, and what about the other centers of their power?
Okay, so several months ago, I think it's been about a year now, I created something called the Key Intelligence and Military System,
Mm,
which is the base platform for all intelligence systems. Part of
mm,
the reason why you have everybody running around in circles and really going nowhere, I mean, they get so far, don't get me wrong, but they don't have enough data. They do have some what you call mapping systems, which say, well, if we blew up Block Country, the Banana Republic tomorrow, what would our chances of success be? And they'll say, well, 90% chance. Okay, great, let's bomb them, right? That's what they do. Militaries run under the program as well. And all militaries take orders from the Order of the Jesuits, right? Or from the Black Pope. And then eventually the SSP, right? So, like here in the US, the reason why the Navy's so, I didn't want what you want to say, powerful is because they are the SSP. So that's where they intertwine, the secret
mm,
space program folks. And so you just keep going up in the ranks until you get to the people you met, right?
mm.
And when I met one of those people by accident, they first thing they said when we sat down at the meeting was, "This everyone must die." I said, "Okay, you first."
I said that to them too, the same thing. All right, show us by example.
Yeah,
You want to kill 90%? Well, you go first.
yeah,
Uh,
you first. You know,
okay, so, all
but
right, so you need to control the military, the finance, and the media.
right,
And what about
intelligence, false
intelligence? Yep.
information.
And what about visible political structures like the so-called Biden administration, the UN Security Council? the Chinese Communist Party. What about these visible political structures?
Okay. Well, I'll tell you something. If the entire government is telling everybody you must do this to have a job, right? That's the way it was, and then they kind of backed down on that. That'll come up again because the generals are now involved with Pfizer. But anyway, so fine, you create a bunch of corporations where you don't have to have this, right? To have a job.
Mm,
So you're just moving the ball.
mm,
Now, for myself personally, I never gave up what the government had to say until COVID. I never even paid attention. I mean, I just kept doing my own thing over here, just talking heads. But they're going to go broke. They are broke. A broke military can't do anything. A broke intelligence agency can't do anything. You know,
mm,
you think these Taliban, Al Qaeda offshoots that the CIA created, do you think that they work for free? You can only promise someone money so long and not pay,
mm.
right?
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Well, so I think I can see the picture. I believe we do need to have this whole thing implode first before we can rebuild. Unfortunately, but until that Biden show ends, and until they clean up all the cryptocurrency, money laundering, human trafficking, spam going on in the Ukraine, etc., all the biolabs. So I guess.
you have contact with these people, right?
Mm,
I mean, these orders, who on. Okay, so the IRA runs the entire underworld, the mafia worldwide. Did you know that?
I did not know that. No.
Okay, underground, and they report to those people that you met with in Italy.
Mm,
So, in order to end human trafficking, you have to provide them with an equally profitable business that is not going to hurt humanity.
right.
So, if you can negotiate with the IRA, then we'll end human trafficking overnight. I mean, you're always going to have a couple crazy people and pedophiles out there, right? Sure. But this multi-trillion dollar annual business will go away immediately.
Okay. All right. Well, one last thing. So a lot of people are saying that we're headed for some sort of singularity. All the timelines are converging, and that's coming soon. What have you heard about that kind of stuff?
Um, I am aware of the timeline situation. Like I said, everyone, when they called in all those analysts to try to figure out how to stop the timeline from ending in 2012, um, it actually carried on until 2020. You're right there. Okay. January, well,
Mm,
December 2020 into December, because it's 1,008 years. So on an energetic level, you wouldn't have a timeline end on an 8. You would have it end on a 9 because that's a complete cycle. It's a complete energy cycle. So
mm.
that ended then. And then you had some extensions and whatnot, like we talked about. So are we converging? No, we're not converging. What we're doing at this moment in time is you're seeing the end to the dark timeline and the beginning of the light one. And that's been going on now it's been, how do you say it, going like this. And
Yeah,
now
I
it's starting
thought
to come back up.
I saw 2012 as like the changing of the tide. So at first, it's
Mhm.
just a little shift in one direction, but then it builds momentum and more and more and more until it's overwhelming. And
Yep,
I guess we're in that process. But um, I still want to get it happening sooner rather than later. And so uh, maybe after the show ends, we'll try to stay in touch about setting up the future planning agency, and
absolutely.
I'll try to get all these organizations who have agreed to a big project to make the planet a better place on board, and let's work together, okay? And we agree that you agree, right? We want to have more plants, more animals, more babies, and turn this
And
planet
restore
around.
how nature actually works. Yep.
Okay, excellent. Well, thanks for taking the time to talk with me. This is
Thank
gonna
you. I appreciate you coming.
I'll have to take a bit of time to digest what I heard. It's new territory for me, but thank you, and I hope we can talk
Well,
again
thank you
soon.
to your readers for having you reach out. So I appreciate them too.
All right, thank you. All right, well, bye then for now.
Thank you.